YouTube comments from a video titled, How Much Food Can I Grow in 1 Year? The part 2.
At 07007 wrote,
It's not cost-effective, but rewarding if you've got nothing else to do. Self-sufficiency is hard work and take a lot of time. It doesn't help pay the mortgage. Be a good project for a Duke of Edinburgh award building those planters, but leave the growing to the professionals. They can do it far more efficiently farmers.
At Moon Orchid, X wrote,
The startup of a vegetable garden doesn't have to be expensive. If can be done for free, but doing it the way you started off with good soil that you didn't have to. Add a bunch if amendments to make it habitable for plants, or spend a few years naturally amending it with low yields. Lots of people do not garden because they believe it's too expensive. It can be free, including seeds. You find a local gardening group or friend and ask them for a couple of starts or seeds. Most gardeners have more than they will ever use in their own garden and would be happy to help and share. Dig up a patch of grass and plant your free seeds and start gardening. I prefer raised beds with compost personally and can afford to do that, so that's what I do. But I would never tell someone who doesn't have the budget for it to not try. I'll go around with some straw and seeds to help out if I can. Ha ha.
Here are 3 you wrote.
Your attitude and perspective on nature, self-sufficiency, and making use of the space you have in your garden in the most meaningful way. All humans should favor the same pastime. Thank you for the content, brother. You should definitely start cooking outside. On a gas barbecue using homemade biogas with chicken poo and grass in a black barrel.
At Simon Ramos 485 wrote,
It was all start up. You can replant your own seeds, reuse the soil, the raised beds, etc. It pays itself off in the long run as you keep expanding.
At BDSBCKJDSKL wrote,
Yes, soul is very important. God made soil, and He made man out of soil, remember that. We all go back to it when we leave Earth.
At Darklup wrote,
I was allowed 1/3 of the garden nice. Now only 2/3 of garden looks like shit. Why would they care if you take all of it if no one's doing shit with rest of it?
Captain Ovius wrote,
I think what many people disregard when growing their own vegetables is the cost of organically grown local vegetables. If we were to buy a similar quality of veggies from our local Nature Pure farmers, we would be paying closer to 8 pounds per kilo of carrots instead of 2 or 3. The first year is always a bit of an investment, but long-term garden veggies are worth our time.
At SBVCP wrote,
A better metric would be to see precisely how much of those crops you'd need to spend to regrow your plot and subtract that from the total. Now the new net, once you subtract costs of water, energy, extra fertilizer if you bought more, instead of making some, et cetera, is what you actually made. Also, as a side note, you might want a kumquat tree. They are absolute dwarfs enough that, spacing aside, you could grow several in one of those raised beads. Specially, if you guide the growth of the branches, they are very, very low maintenance and sometimes give you kumquats more than once a year and several kg at that. If you can keep birds from them, they can be awesome raw. They have a really sweet part and a really acid one. Think mixing the sweetest tangerine around the zestiest lemon, or you can candy them in syrup, which with a bit of whiskey or rum added pairs really well with vanilla ice cream.
At Theraserger Simpson 1280 wrote,
It is so very refreshing and impressive to see a younger person such as you, Alex, with your knowledge, and you actually do it. You learn from experience.
At Rob J. 1795 wrote,
In Germany, during the Nazi time, families with more than 3 kids got a cheap house and 1,000 square meters of garden. The idea was to make the people grow almost all the food to feed your family off that land. And of course, to give as many soldiers to Hitler's army as possible, it worked out. People also had some chicken, rabbits, and a pig. The only food they had to buy was bread and margarine. Greeks from Germany.
At Powerhouse 8888 wrote,
Everything you buy from the supermarket has seeds inside, so you can grow your crops from that always never buy seeds and sprout what doesn't have seeds by submerging in water. I grew potatoes, mangoes, avocados, and countless others in a tiny pot in an apartment.
At Celiclet 5932 wrote,
A tip that I learned about potatoes is you gotta wait two weeks after blowing time, get the best harvest. BTW, it's just my experience, and it may not work for you.
At Mikey Stajic wrote,
I know it's been like 3 years since this was uploaded, but for anyone growing potatoes, wait till the tops die off before you harvest your potatoes. You get so many more big ones.
At Jade Baker wrote,
Just a quick tip. You can cut seeding potatoes wherever there's an eye and plant the eyepieces separately. Been doing it for years, and almost all of them grow.
At Braden 2233 wrote,
Nothing I hate more than trying to grow strawberry plants. I have never had luck with them. I personally love growing banana peppers and sunflowers. Going to expand my horizons and do an indoor garden with grow lamps. Love gardening, so hoping all goes well. Going to do vegetables and herbs over winter, then switch to flowers in the spring.
At the Servalas wrote,
Plant Jerusalem artichoke. You can't get rid of this stuff. It produces a lot and it doesn't need any care. Also take a look at Hugo Culture. I made just one and I got crazy amounts of tomatoes and zucchinis. Again, without any care other can't trim the tomato plants, no watering.
At Arinar 2398 wrote,
Oh, and price comparison, you can't buy this quality and taste from the supermarket, the health benefits not in taking chemicals and poisons you may have compared to organic prices.
At Jablot 5054 wrote,
In the UK, you are only allowed to have a certain percentage of your garden as food production before the government want to spoil things. Check out your covenants or deeds.
At Butterfly Lullaby Ltd wrote,
Brilliant speech as someone that was taught ATA English twaddle in school. I managed to use art, music, and creative thinking the elite academics in power labeled dyslexia to help our daughter to read, write, and spell. State education failed her. I didn't. There are 9 million illiterate adults in the UK because of state education. Sadly, academics in power are not team players. They have destroyed the arts on purpose. I have always encouraged our daughter to draw and sing. Thanks to home education, she was allowed to follow an education that she excels in. The arts deserve funding. And if we had the right people in power, all our children would have bright and happy futures. God bless and Godspeed.
At Ivgotball Softsteel 4048 wrote,
Hands down, one of the most important things in growing any plant is the quality of the soil. The right sort of soil and in the right condition. Ensure the pH is good and there is sufficient nutrients, but not too much. Also, the plant will only be as good as its root system. Big roots equal big plants.
At ICM Aus wrote,
Waiting for the weather would have been a great time to start a compost, which would be ready for the spring, and slugs love beer, so bury a cup in the soil, and at night fill it with cheap beer. They can't resist, and they drown.
At Money Manifestation 9505 wrote,
People are so dumb sometimes. This is why everyone doesn't just grow their own morons. It's way too expensive. The farmers that provide us with vegetables don't have to buy soil or fertilizer because they have the land and animals already. This is why you had traders back in the day, because one person couldn't produce everything.
At Jason J 333, ZZ4SJ wrote,
How ata omo realize. M 5T Tiao Ota 1 Met 50M Shirino. Idao Alma TM 4100E at 01805T Set Omioa AA5M. Eat 8 Ue Zoo 8 Fu 15 08 Tiomo E PDM Vo. E Denver Fertilizers ET Oto Ot Autumn Yaki 2 Moa OT. AO TM Emo OA Tau Meout. EME2 EAM. Atmamo idin temta item 2 Oto Katvadina EO. Emi Timo Odi Meta E Denbe 5 to 70 E Ato TTOama. Adamamo EVTMM MAOEO EMOA Feeling A5.
At Landon Harris 343 wrote,
Growing your own food won't save most people money, but many people find being self-sufficient worth it. I want to get into it at raising some animals when I get my own property, hopefully in the next 2 years.
At deadinside_3463 wrote,
So random tip that my grandpa told me is when your potatoes grow a stem or bush you bury that in dirt as well, and apparently you get a lot of potatoes. I haven't been able to try it cause where we live prices are expensive, but when I start getting my hours back I must save to grow a garden too.
At Sonorpalena's 3567 wrote,
LOL's happy face was the best part of the video. I remember when I grew my own tomatoes and onions. It was so fantastic. I liked the vid.
At Mantanbicus wrote,
You don't need to buy raised beds or compost every year. And with some more experience, you can definitely live off a garden that size. Might seem like a novelty to grow your own food, but it is a long-term investment that really holds a lot of meaning. Makes you see food differently.
At Brazen Bull XXX wrote,
You'll always lose money on your first season in supplies alone. The awesome thing is next season you just throw some humus and slash or manure in there, mend it, and boom, you are in the green. Try to find a farm and strike up a conversation about taking some manure. They never say no. At that point you only need seeds. Tomatoes, squash, zucchini, etc. are brain dead. Just dry a few out and keep the seeds for next year. Yes, it is more work, but you can do a lot of gardening for little to nothing if you go out of your way a bit.
At Matthew Bergeron 3641 wrote,
Shows a yard with the smallest possible dusting of snow on the ground. Time to build a snowman and have snowball fights, bro, with what? My freezer has more frost on its walls.
At Yippee 739 wrote,
Here is 2 tips. 1. Add an irrigation system. I added some for my tomatoes, potatoes, peppers, and radish, and it works really well. 2. For the potatoes, wait until it's more yellow and starts dying more to get a better harvest.
At Newspaper HN9NW wrote,
I remember farming one day, but then the plants started screaming and they screamed and they screamed. Their putrid plant blood staining my garden as I stood there with a spade full of onion viscera. I do not like farming. The elder gods forbid it. It's all hunting and gathering at the local supermarkets these days.
At ucruise_ wrote,
This year, me and my mom just playing around planted potatoes on some dirt we had in our backyard. It wasn't a lot of space, and it didn't got much sunlight. In a few months, the place was completely flooded with green plants. And after that, they all died and she went to harvest. We grown some giant potatoes just like that without putting much thought, and it felt so satisfying to taste the food you grown yourself.
Kyron Holliston 3065 wrote, "How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? How much food can I grow in 1 year? Patrick Bang 3037 wrote,
My friend planted some potatoes for the lulz last year this summer so far July 5th, 2024 as I'm writing this. He already made about 3 po in T000DKK from selling off potatoes. He just likes looking after them and making sure they grow big and nice. He has way more than he could eat even if he was tatters only dieting lol.
Niklash wrote,
We planted cucumber plants for the first time this spring. In just over a month, we've got at least a dozen 20 to 30 centimeters long cucumbers that beat the ones from the supermarket. Growing your own food is perhaps one of the best things in life.
War Falcon wrote,
The profit is your health and knowing where and what those vegetables went through before coming to you. Can't put a price tag on your body. Nice work.
Kevin Doyle R1W wrote,
When I was a boy, times were hard. No such thing as seed taters. We used the peelings, and taters sprung forth from these. A lot of these secrets have been lost over time along with big gardens and orchards.
Brandon SF2VC wrote,
Try to keep up with harvesting crops at right times. You can next time grow squab and cabbage in different area in bed once other harvest season is over. Squash and cabbage are more colder season to grow and hem.
A Symbiotic Ape wrote,
Potatoes. Pop your fingers or a softish pipe deep and pull out the big ones you hit/touch. Then leave the plant to stay growing. It will focus its energy on the remaining potatoes, and you'll get far bigger, better potatoes. Also, you don't need to buy seed potatoes. I always grow from leftover store-bought potatoes to grow all of mine, and the results are very impressive. Yams, ginger, and garlic too. All organic store-bought leftovers. Grow the best strawberries, grapes, peppers, tomatoes, and much more, all from store-bought seeds or leftovers. I literally never buy any seeds.
At Gorilla Gardener 2237 wrote,
This is what I did to my raised bed last year, but I dug 2 feet down and layered the clay-like soil with bark. I also take supplements like potassium, so when I'm doing this I pour my urine onto my compost heap. At the end of this year my compost will go onto my raised bed and I should end up with potassium nitrate in the soil. I also built a polythene greenhouse around the raised bed. Courgettes, chilies, tomatoes, even your spuds would grow better under a polythene greenhouse.
At Michael_K wrote,
In my experience, it is worth planting a few sweet corn and peas. They take up little space. Instead of a proper greenhouse, those made of foil work best. I grew chili in them without any problems in Eastern Europe. I had sweet potatoes and no problem. Every year I sow yellow legumes. I love their taste cooked or in soup with smoked bacon. You can grow tomatoes without a greenhouse, and they will ripen later, but their taste and smell are great. You can't buy them in the store. It is worth planting various herbs in free places. They will be useful in the kitchen. I plan to experiment with soybeans in the garden. Finally, fertilizer. I buy manure from the farmer every 2 or 3 years. If you want to maintain productivity without artificial fertilizers, this is the best solution, and it doesn't stink that much. And after a week, there is no trace of the unpleasant smell. Compost is the second basis: kitchen waste and mowed grass, or green waste after harvesting in a barrel or a hole in the ground if you have space. I have been running a garden for several years, and I can't imagine not doing it. Funny thing is, when I was younger, I couldn't imagine doing something like this.
At Hobbles Games wrote,
I am super new, so I could be wrong, but what I have heard is that with sprouting potatoes, you can cut them into like quarters with a sprout in each quarter and plant them to get more. I would appreciate if a master gardener could inform me if that is true, though.
At George Leo N1Y wrote,
In order to save money, you must take the cucumber, go back and plant the seeds, and also take the same number of potatoes. You must also take the bottom part of the onion, and you will find that you did not spend anything on the seeds or anything except water for the following year.
At CBNM 1996 wrote,
To fix your problem with slugs, just left a cup with bear inside, at each corner, and about the birds buy a scarecrow with the appearance of the largest predator bird that exists in its region like a hawk.
At Colin Knutson U4W wrote,
Love how you were only able to use a third, and it is either because you're lazy or your roommates are the biggest a-holes ever because they didn't do anything with their 2/3.
At Joshua Stang 6359 wrote,
Hey, you forgot one of the most important things: you should plant corn in rows. Like a farmer would in the field. That way, it pollinates and your cobs get fuller. There's a reason why they do that. Just saying, bro, you won't get crap for yield if you plant a corn plant here and there. Rows are important in this case.
At Okimute 1477 wrote,
Another thing you need to consider is that your nest planting, you won't need to make raised beds, nor buy shovels, so your true savings will show in your next planting.
At Mark Singh 8863 wrote,
One question: I have been collecting food scraps in a plastic bin, which is kind of airtight. Today I opened and saw white mold or white fungus. Some parts are even black mold. Can I bury them in trench composting? Will it be harmful to the soil?
At Truth J7D5 wrote,
Dear Alex,
Thank you for sharing this whole process. I really enjoyed this and learning from your learning process. I enjoy your clean and neat language, which will encourage me to share with our young sons who would love to also learn from your video. Thank you so very much and very well done in all what you are doing. What a joy you must be to your parents.
At Millen 983 wrote,
You can also cut the potato in pieces before planting. Each of those growth's eyes gives one plant. I think you pulled those onions and garlic a little too early.
Zerd wrote,
You can't compare your own organic vegetables which you cared for to supermarket ones which use tons of pesticides and chemicals, GMO modifications, etc. Your own garden will always taste better.
At Onyxicality wrote,
I know this video is 2 years old, but after playing Stardew Valley, I'm actually quite interested in gardening now, and I've stumbled your video. Now I'm in a whole different rabbit hole in watching videos like growing your own crops and urban farming. My knowledge with farming and gardening that came from Stardew Valley has been improved because of these kinds of videos. I'd say it really piqued my interest so much.
At DragonixD 1200 wrote,
Possiblemente no estaban tan grandes las patatas de bido, aquinolas de jast en sufficient tiempo. La mayoría de patatas suele tardar 120 to 150 días en terminar de crecer. Además es buena señal cuando las flores de la papa se marchitan.
At Arvindama 8742 wrote,
Bro, you lose some money, but it is good you know that it is free of chemicals, and good for your health cause you have grown that plant or vegetable.
At Awesome did 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 wrote,
Your zucchini died because it was transplanted either sow directly into soil or start in small containers, and plants out when it's quite small. The number one thing about any squash is that you should not damage the roots at all.
At Josh's 5313 wrote,
Beautifully made video. I can honestly feel how much experience has been put into just a few minutes of my time. You have given me extreme confidence for my potato growing. You have made the few moments that I was able to spend completely worth my time. You did not banter, you got straight to the point. This must be one of the best videos that I've seen in a long time when it comes to gardening. This is absolutely the best video I've ever seen when it comes to potatoes. Visually, it was beautifully shot and beautifully edited. I can see all of the care and love that was put into every aspect of this video. Kudos, looking forward to more.
Awayag wrote,
3 oranges, 3 apples, 1 group of bananas, 1 watermelon. 1 gallon of milk, 1 gallon of orange juice, a dozen eggs, 1 family-sized bag of random chips, 1 loaf of bread, and 1 whole chicken was more or less my weekly grocery budget back in the early 20-teens. Found an old receipt recently, and that was about $27 at my local store. Now that same list would cost almost $60 a week in a small, rural Texas town with rents regularly hundreds, if not $1,000 cheaper than in cities across the country. His yields here, while he may think was small in some aspects, would only get bigger and better with experience and would easily save MLRE and more each time.
At account name 9872 wrote,
My grandma kept a massive garden all on her own until she passed. She did all the work by herself, and by hand wouldn't let anyone over the age of 10 help. Kiddos can help. She died at 106.
At Darkham Tobia wrote,
I'd suggest checking out James Prigeny if you've got the gardening bug. Other good things are the square-foot garden system, as well as my personal favorite, deep mulch gardening.
At Surreal Notion wrote,
Great video.
I'm in the States and I'm learning to build, prep, and grow our own raised gardens. This vid helps me to get up and going. Thanks for the info. And great stuff.
At Carl Cork 3378 wrote,
Man, this was great to watch. I too have gotten into gardening vegetables. It's nice to see someone get as excited as I do. Lol, I also have a small garden going. 200 SQFT to be exact. I am so stoked to see my results. Much love from right outside of Charlotte, NC.
Pedum68 wrote,
Growing your own food is a long-term investment. Also, another tip to save on buying more seeds is to let one of each plant go to seed. Then harvest those seeds, and you will have saved a ton of money if compared to buying the same amount of seeds.
At Marion Vuk 2227 wrote,
Learn from videos. Those rice beds are not good. Make them 4 times that high. Use aquaponics. Potatoes grow in bags. Soil is very bad prepared. But as first garden project, not bad.
At Jacob BM6WB wrote,
You can put composting stuff under a raised bed, then put a sort of greenhouse cover over the bed, and it will allow you to plant a couple months earlier. The composting process heats the raised bed, and the sort of greenhouse cover protects them from the call's wind.
At Blue Fox 2844 wrote,
If I was your roommate, I'd offer you my 15M2 in exchange for free food, 'cause then they'd get a pretty garden to enjoy and free noms.
At our 00K Truth wrote,
Raise. Apparently eggshells keep the slugs, dust snails away. 3. Washing them, put them in a cloth, smash them into tiny sharp objects, and place them around your grows. Raise. Also salt. Hope this helps.
At Betty Ferguson 2815 wrote,
We always dug potatoes on Labor Day, September 1st. You need to just gently dig in the soil for the bigger ones and leave the little ones in the soil to continue to grow.
And Klang wrote,
Thanks for sharing, Alex. How many times can you harvest throughout the year? I'm guessing everything dies during autumn and winter, and you need to seed and plant again come next spring?
At Wang Najin wrote,
Regarding the cost of seeds, I highly recommend to everyone to use the seeds of the vegetables you bought. My family collects the seeds of chiles, tomatoes, butternuts, courgettes, etc. We're still trying to figure out some of them, but it's so fun. The best results so far came from the chiles. They grew really beautiful fruits. While eating herbs that we bought, we can also save some to plant. We put them in water and some of them grow roots. Then the plants can be integrated to the garden.
At Maya Chapman 6503 wrote,
This is so amazing. I just started my little garden and I have yet to figure out how I want to build beds for MD plants. Thank you for this, as it was super helpful.
At Kalina Scudden 4157 wrote,
Alex, I know this is an old video, and you probably found out what you did wrong, but just in case you didn't, let me provide a few tips. 1. The potatoes were not very big because you harvested them quite early. People usually harvest them when the actual plant is starting to decay, a little bit loses its strong green color, sometime between 3 and 4 months, since you planted the seed potatoes, usually towards 4 months. 2. When growing onions with very small spaces, it's a good idea to grow green onions, not the mature bulb ones, because to maximize output, put mature large bulbs into the ground and they will grow up to 3, 4, 5 green onions each. To save money, maybe try to grow the more expensive stuff and just get the cheap stuff from the market.
At Mr. Blanker wrote,
There is a project named Genesis FarmBot. It can do near all the work with different crops. With the best 10 average crops, you could do 2.000 calories per day with a field size from 110 square meters. This is insane. They took our land to take our opportunity to feed ourselves. Thank you, capitalism.
At Joris Barents wrote,
I really appreciate the size of your garden and your beds. So many videos, even those tagged urban, feature yards much larger than what I have access to. So seeing what you can do in a really small space is heartening and inspiring. Thanks.
At Blinks wrote,
You can't make money on a little crop like that. Beauty, this gave you knowledge that your vegetables are way healthier than the ones in the supermarket, which is the main point of growing your own food. At this rate, we will all have to do so to keep our health.
At Jeff7798 wrote,
Just to let you know, your channel has inspired me to do beekeeping and grow my own mushrooms and garden. I would like to thank you for making this stuff both informative and entertaining. You are great at what you do, and so I say thanks. Thanks for inspiring me to live a better, more fulfilling life, and I look forward to watching your channel in the future.
At Zristos Panagiotopoulos 7401 wrote,
Τις τελευταίες μέρες στάματα το ποτισμά.
At Stephen Jones 2371 wrote,
I was the only one in FFA in school that wasn't a hunter, or what you call a redneck southern boy here in the South. I was a punk rocker skateboarder in high school in the 90s, so you can imagine, if you're my age I don't skate anymore and work for Honda now. I'm 51. I even went to college with a scholarship from the FFA that helped myself do what I do today. I still garden to this day and grow my own veggies every year. I just enjoy it. Amazing. Something you think would be a easy grand in school, you find something you love and didn't even know it when I was 18.
Ekelikakukutin wrote,
Hilarious that your entire backyard is full of clay. You then go and spend money to purchase more clay from someone on the other side of the country to rebuild your oven. You could have done an entire video on harvesting the clay from your yard, filtering and screening it, and making it into an oven, but hey. Thanks for the content. Keep up the good work.
Efkefkefk 548 wrote,
If you want to plant potatoes, you have to take a couple of potatoes that aren't from a supermarket because they won't grow as well, and you have to put the potatoes in a dark, damp place until they begin to sprout. I'm Latvian, so you can trust my information. Latvia is the country of the potatoes.
At Brightest Blessings 7899 wrote,
I took 1 copper water pipes and scratched them up with sandpaper, cut them to 4 lengths, and pushed 1 each down 2 into the middle of each garden. The slugs hate it. Great video and fabulous gardens.
At Christina's Corner Co wrote,
You might benefit from cutting your potatoes into smaller pieces when planting. Each eye that grows on the potato can sprout. So if you have 1 eye on either end, you can cut it in half and plant them as 2 separate seeds.
Kaka wrote,
I don't know why I feel like crying watching this. Very happy for you to able to achieve all this. I don't even know you, but I feel proud.
At Demurbukia 6975 wrote,
That video was very interesting to me. Even after that, I want to use my backyard to grow up some vegetables. Thanks for sharing this kind of videos. Good luck.
@being _ the beautiful 素人
Potatoes are tricky, but super easy to grow. I learned with potatoes you either get a few little amount of big ones or a lot of tiny ones.
At Kelvin Emmons 2448 wrote,
How much is 64 pounds to US money? Also, I would like to know how much money you save the following year since you already have all but possibly the seeds. Here's also a tip I learned. Plant partner seeds. There are certain plants that actually grow very nicely together in the same plot, and a lot of them can deter intruders, such as the slugs you mentioned. I don't know myself what ones are best to plant with what as I haven't been able to grow a garden myself, but from what I learned, you can plant what they call partner plants next to others, and they help by deterring certain pests. This could help with your slug problem. Sorry for the rant, but another good thing I learned, when you harvest, leave the roots of plants that don't come back in the dirt and cover them with hay and tarp during the winter months. The roots will decay, release nutrients for the next harvest, and if you rotate your crop, you can ensure that each harvest, your plants won't just grow strong, but they'll thrive and give you a much larger yield the following year.
At Lion Difference 4906 wrote,
French. Diesel mais tes grains sont issues de la manipulation génétique à l'aujourd'hui. Ça donne L1 air et n'y pose rien à l'année après. Essay avec des grains sources bio et tu verras si est pos pareil. Ton compost estopet tout CQ2 as fait est bien mais la base si est les grains. Les grains apprennent ton sol, GT concile diaché et cockapilli en France. Tugeras tes grains touts tarvisi tous les couples avec de autobio et sauce. Bon continuation poto.
At Marie Odelibris 6776 wrote,
About the potatoes, you do not need to put a whole one to start a plant. Halves do the job. Roll the cut part into fine cement powder to prevent rotting. So you need less to start with and get the same harvest. To get bigger potatoes, let them in the ground till the leaves get yellow.
Someone high wrote,
Don't go hard on yourself. Your drawing is perfect for someone who doesn't know how to make blueprints. One crucial mistake. You had to buy plastic sheets like nylon sheets to place under your wooden grow pots. Because animals can dig trough and eat your plants. Also helps water doesn't waste down in the actual earth ground. So you get more efficiency on liquid spend. And don't forget the money you spend on equipment without repairs is divided by each time you use them. So if it cost you 10 British pounds, Great British pound, that's 15 euros / 20 US dollars. Basically, if you grow 10 years in a row, that will be 1 British pound per year for equipment. Clever, huh? P.S. But maybe next time, just Google blueprints. And just use your computer drawing program to draw it quickly with perfect ratio 1. XXXX depending on your needs. But you learn about that in the process of making blueprints. Everything else is just fine.
At Just Plain Adventures wrote,
I know this was a while ago, but as you see this, by burying 80% of the potatoes leaves every few weeks, those leaves may sprout, grow more potatoes. If it's species dependent, though.
At Boring Software 2093 wrote,
Hash chickens are a good ideas also because they give eggs, but they only eat the eggs of the snails and maybe small snails, but not big snails. You can take out the bottom of a bucket and put it over small plants to protect them against the slugs.
At Chrome Shadow 4 Eva wrote,
I've just come across your video. Very interesting the methods and experiments you use for this. One thing that kept prodding me all the way through is your house greenhouse. I know it's a nice area to sit and store things, but I can't help thinking with a little effort to clear out the bikes and other bits, with lots of wood staging, how much of a huge asset to your gardening efforts that greenhouse built into your house could be.
Brad Crit wrote,
Great journey, thanks for sharing. Gardening isn't really ever cost effective compared to buying into a local CSA/crop share. or if you just do it in huge rows in the ground instead of perfect raised beds. But it's so rewarding and healthy, especially if you can and preserve your food so you can enjoy it in the winter.
Brad Crit wrote,
The zucchini thing is always hilarious. It seems like no matter how careful you are with routine harvests, every year you will end up with a megazook. It's unavoidable. I did some research, and it's actually meant to grow significantly larger and turn into more of a winter squash, but not taste great. Good for fritters, though.
at Ava 901282000 wrote,
Just remember, the flavor and quality of the food grown in a home garden will be exponentially better than what you buy in market. No gene manipulation, pesticides, chemicals, or unknowns. Just organic goodness.
the Soror 30 wrote,
I did a similar thing at my last house and turned my front yard full sun into raised garden beds. I had 3 8FTX 4 feet boxes that were 2 PO and T 5 feet tall. I did the math, and in Canada I produced about $500 in produce per box, per year. The trick is to grow what you love, but also great producers like snow peas, sugar snap peas, kales, cherry tomatoes, smaller cucumbers, etc. I also grow a lot of varieties you can't find in the grocery store. A huge herb garden, etc. You can't put a price on the education from Mother Earth, and those meals made with your own hard work. I was so satisfied watching your harvest, and you've only grown since this 2-year-old video. Thumbs up from your fellow green thumb. 3.
at Decibel Lone 696 wrote,
For me, I am a pathetic farmer. I live in Las Vegas. I have 6 5-gallons buckets and 2 8x 2x8 in raised beds, BUT. I grow enough so my wife can make salsa and enough to supplement our Gorkry bill with some heat-resistant tomatoes and lots of varieties of peppers. Peppers are fun and easy to grow, and we like them. Plus, it's a lot of fun. I'm hoping when I retire I can expand my yard to do more.
at Lazuli Scarab wrote,
Great video, but what makes gardeners have such a weird sense of what a small garden is. That's a big garden. It's not surprising that you can grow a lot of food, but it is cool.
Coveroli wrote,
If you have a small garden like this, and as far as this is a hobby, the question is never was it worth it, but was it fun? And the answer is most often, absolutely. Growing you first tomatoes, first basil, first potatoes feels incredibly good. Feel yourself so proud.
at No More Mr. Nice Guy 223 wrote,
I'm not sure if you were allowed to go in the forest and take some topsoil, which is normally very rich in nutrients and beneficial bacteria. You could add some mycorrhizae and earthworms for their castings.
Sabaka and Kulnvachislav wrote,
You can't even imagine. In Soviet Union at 80th, everyone planting some vegetables and fruits, cause it was only source of really fresh food. On shops, vegetables were often already rotten. Best you can was having rabbits or chicken. 'Cause meat was blue on shelves, and even such meat disappear time to time.